record. So taking your posture with this upright stance, nice and gently, feeling that the soft tissue of your body is sort of in a way draped over the framework of your skeleton. I sometimes use the image of a tent to actually give the idea that it's more than one thing involved. The skeleton is part of it, your skin and the fascia is part of it. The guy ropes and so on would be represented by your muscles, and they all have a role to play. So the effort of being upright is distributed throughout your body, and that should be reflected in the movements that we make. So just slowly turning your head. And when we move, I suppose, if you've been camping and you've been in a tent, when you go into the tent, you're always a little bit careful not to disturb the structure. So in many ways, what I'm talking about defines how far we can move and the quality of the movement. The movement itself will help to ease tightness and stiffness and create more space. Hands in front of your shoulders and circling your elbows around. Another thing about being able to reduce some of the tightness and stiffness in different parts of the body is that it facilitates a connection in the body. If you think of your body being well tuned, like a guitar or violin, some kind of stringed instrument, tension lays across the strings, blocks the movement. So, for instance, with this movement, as you circle your elbows around, obviously there's movement in your shoulders, but your shoulders are connected to your chest and your upper back, your shoulder blades. So those parts of the body also become involved, and other parts as well, going forwards. Maintaining a focus of attention within our body informs us about those connections. And as we become more familiar with them, then that feeds into our intention. And Tai Chi and Qigong are regarded as intentional movements. So that gradually we feel that the internal aspect, the movements inside, produce the external movements rather than the other way around. Now, hands down to your sides, just rotating your arms. This will also affect your chest and upper back. It tends to be a little bit more subtle. So with that feeling of connection, we perhaps start to realize the meaning of a phrase like, when one part of your body is in motion, your whole body is in motion. One way or another, your whole body is engaged. Your feet, your legs, and your hips, spine, ribs are all supporting the structure of your body. Now, big muscles like the trapezius and your upper back, pectoral muscles in the chest, and much else besides, are less strained, and so more able to engage with this movement that you're making with your arms. We begin to appreciate the dynamic as well, this sense of connection, guiding us into an awareness of the flow, the energy within the body. And then winding around. it's good to establish these kind of ideas as part of how we move. It's very simple movements. So this opening part of the session is not just about loosening the joints and so on, which is important. Go back the other way, but also about using movement to increase our awareness of what's happening within the body, to draw those subtle qualities into our intentions. It gets more difficult with the more complex exercises, of course. But here we're able to just maintain quite a strong focus of attention on what's happening within the body. Let your hands rest. Tilt your pelvis forwards, but feel your hips still sinking back, like somebody's pulling you back into the chair. And then come back up again. From the side, I'm not doing this. I'm not trying to sort of lift my hips up. I'm letting my hips drop back. My head goes forwards. There's an extension through my back and spine. And I feel that contracting when I come back up. My weight is going into my feet. So a principal agent here that brings me to the upright position is that gentle push through my feet and my legs. But that's complemented, supplemented by this extension and contraction through my back. Again, like a tent, if the wind blows the tent, it might bend a little bit, but the combination of the frame, the elasticity of the skin of the tent, the guy ropes and so on and so forth, help to bring the whole structure back again when the wind drops. So these are the biomechanics, if you like, of the movement in Tai Chi. It gives us the sense of movement, the sense of energy that will move our arms first. And then turning slightly so that you're now looking towards one leg, feeling the contrast between the leg that your weight is going into and the other leg, and indeed between leg and hips. Where your weight moves, your weight fills that part of the body up. And then as you come back, you sort of empty, say, into your hips. Turn in the other direction. Think of water pouring into a glass. And what happens is the water drops to the bottom of the glass and fills up. So when you go back into your hips, try not to feel the pressure, say, in your back, first of all, but in your hips and buttocks, and then feel it moving up your back. When you're going into the foot, likewise, feeling the pressure in the contact with the ground, filling the leg up. And then going into the circular movement, you turn, feel your weight going over to one side, into one hip, forwards into the leg in front, turn again towards the other leg, and then back into the hip behind that, and then turn, starting the whole cycle again. Your weight moving, your pelvis sort of rolling around gently on the chair. And the combination, drawing your head and shoulders around in a nice smooth circle. Don't go too far because you want to leave that kind of soft feeling, supple feeling in your back. Just almost like your spine is floating around. And I'm fine here. If I go out here, I'm now stiffening up in my back and side to stop myself falling out of the chair. And then go back the other way. Come back to that more central position. Raise one foot, step out, put your heel down, lower your toes, press gently into the floor. This is planting the foot, and that little press is akin to the feeling if you're a gardener and you maybe put something in a pot or in the ground, you put it in, cover the soil over, press the soil down gently. It's not a hard movement, but it helps to give you that sense of connection to the ground. Again, this is something that we can make use of later. And then on the other side, so these are necessary components that we want to practice so that when we come to the later exercises and we're using the arms a lot more, they're already there for us, they're already in place. So, back to this position, let your arms drop down again, combining this rotating of the arms with the movement of the weight, tilting forwards as you rotate your arms. This is bird folds its wings. So now, again, when one part of your body is in motion, your whole body is in motion. And you could take that a stage further and say that one part of your body is in motion, your whole body and your mind, your attention, your awareness, are one way or another engaged with the whole process. And again, we get that sense of the flow, the energy. We're looking for that flow to be very harmonious. We're looking for the relationship between these three elements of body, mind, and energy also to be harmonious. We're not forcing our body into position. It's not mind over matter. Rather exploring that space where those three so-called jewels, the three treasures of Tai Chi, start to blend and support each other. Change into fisherman cast and net. Leave your hands facing backwards. Sink back. And then forwards. Fisherman cast and net. Increasingly in Tai Chi, we find that we're able to use that blend in the body, mind, and energy to create movements one way or another. Our intention may be making use of a memory of the exercise. Those of you who are familiar with the exercises, maybe using some kind of image. And just be, again, be aware of the interaction of the different parts of the body, the biomechanics of the movement. Any or all of those things and more feed into your intention. It's a very simple exercise, but one that's worth thinking about to get a sense of what's going on within your body. One thing you could try doing, I can only do this with one arm in the back of the chair, so carry on with both arms. But once you've got an idea of what the movement is, and it's very simple, you have this idea of rolling something out, casting the net, rolling the carpet out, rolling the ball along the ground, whatever. And we can form a picture, an image in our mind of the movement. And kind of hold that picture in our mind and start to get a feeling that our body is capable of flowing in that picture. A bit like when it could plaster into a mold. These are all ways that enable us to find, in a sense, a different way of moving, a different approach to movement, not forcing the body in any way. One way or another, creating the environment within which these movements can begin to flow. And then rolling the ball in towards your chest, coming up, feeling the expansion belly, solar plexus, chest. An expansion seeming to just push your arms out a little bit here. And you feel that rise in movement quite strongly as we come to the upright position. Like a wave coming up underneath our arms. And not just stiffen up in our shoulders, our back. It's like feeling a pulling on your fingers. If there was a ball there, and especially if it was a bit heavy, you're pulling, there'll be a kind of a pull through fingers and arms, and then they'll contract. And then this time, as your arms come up, turning your hands palm in, getting open in the chest. Pigeon spreads its. One more time. The next movement, very similar in some ways, but a little bit more compact. Bring your hands in front of your hips. Your elbows still go out a little bit. Turn your hands, pushing away. That slight sort of compactness and focus, giving a stronger feel to the push forwards. So pushing wave. You can imagine pushing into the wave. Remember, just aware of what's happening, not just in your arms, but the movement of your weight, pulse of the movement in the upper body, the expansion and contraction in the chest and upper back. Do one more of these. Change into push, punch with both hands. Drop your hands down, roll your fingers into a fist. And when you come back, just let your elbows come in, staying just in front of your hips. With both hands. You go forwards, that pushes the elbows out, and your arms rotate. So your arms and hands are a bit like a set of springs, and somebody's compressed the spring and then release it. People who are more familiar with this, see if you can notice what's going on in your back. It's very subtle, but it's as though that sense of sort of rotation and compression just pushes into your spine a little bit, and then releasing from your hips through your spine, through your shoulders to your arms. Do this one more time, and at the end of the movement, open your fist and go back to pigeon spreads its wings. We're going to do one of each of the last three movements. Forwards, this time, hands staying in line with your hips as your elbows go out. That's forwards. And then hands dropping down, hips, elbows more in line with your hips, beg your pardon, and punch with both fists. There's some very subtle contrasts between the patterns of movement within your upper body as we change from one movement to another. This too feeds into your intention. So you could, for instance, and I'm not saying this is the only way it necessarily work here, but an expansion in the chest and upper back. And back expanding as you go forwards here. Once again, chest expanding, but much more subtly. And the kind of springiness in your arms, it gets developed a little bit more as we go into punch with both fists. So a lot of crossover between the movements, but also some individual characteristics. Expectation becomes part of our intention affecting our movement. Once you're familiar with the movements, it's akin to what happens if, say, you've got a door that sticks habitually in your house. And then, without you knowing, somebody loosens the door up. When you approach the door, you expect resistance. And because somebody's loosened it, you might, oh, it suddenly opens really easily, and that's a bit too much and takes you by surprise. So intention programs our body. We don't want to be too rigid about that. We can also make use of it. One more time. And then moving on, open your fingers, winding your arms out and back. And again, press. Try not to stiffen up in particular parts of your body, maybe your shoulders or the muscles of your arm. Remember, that tightening is likely to make it harder to feel the natural connections in the movements. The sun changing into polishing the table as you come back. Turn your hands palm down again. You turn, you move forwards towards one leg, and then turn again, sweeping the hands around, back into the back. Change direction. Your time. The movement in the center of your body, hips, pelvis, waist. Move your arms. Your arms just gently extend out here, and then that back in. One more on each side, each direction. Settle back into the central position. Feel that slight sense of dropping down through your hips and your shoulders. And then, once again, that extension upwards through your back, pushing your hands up, and then contraction, drawing them down. Imagine you have a ball in your arms and you're pushing the ball up, and then letting it drop. A slightly stronger feeling in the movement. Again, we can use different images. One very common image works for all the exercises is that you're moving through water. The density of the water is encouraging your body to work a little bit more fully, to engage more fully without straining. Then turning your hands out, a bit more expansion in the sides of your body for the wild goose. It's a lovely image of the bird in flight, maybe conveying some kind of quality to you. Notice how my elbows hang down here. This time ease forwards, put your hands slide in front of your knees and cross, sit back, push up, elbows drawing the fingers around in a circle. Imagine you're painting a circle on a wall with each arm and hand. And your hand and your fingers are like the paintbrush. So use your body to move the paintbrush, not the other way around. One more time. Staying back, let your hands drop down on your shoulders and then extending through one side, dragon plucks the stars. One time on each side. And then bring your hands around just above your lap. Both arms, both hands pressing up a little and going back. Same thing, they get pushed up, but now your elbows drop and that turns it into a sideways extension. Alternating those movements. Noting the pattern of expansion and contraction. So as you push out, a bit of your awareness looks outwards. As you come in, begin to be more focused on that center part of your body. That's something that we want to become habitual, so that it's almost as natural as breathing in after you've taken an out breath. So gradually this sense of awareness of what's going on in our body and how we can work creatively with that builds into our daily lives. Now, extend one foot, plant just the heel on the floor, turn your hands palm up, ease forwards, scooping the sea and looking at the sky. Don't lock your knee. We'll get a little bit of an extension in your calf and thigh muscles, thicken the hamstrings, and through your back. Very gently, remember, coming back to the upright position, not by straining, by feeling that pull of gravity on your hips, yielding to that, and encouraging an expansion, belly, solar plexus, chest. And then once again, a hollow fist with both hands. The side of your head going up slightly, drawing hands around, grasping tiger's ears, or sometimes twin strikes to these. Change over, try that with your other foot forwards. Scoop in the sea, looking at the sky, changing this time to grasp at the tiger's ears. Don't drop your head down. It's quite common to see people doing something like this, but you actually want to look into the tiger's eyes. That maintains that lengthy feeling through your back. You do this, your back's kind of bending, losing that energized quality. One more time. Now, rubbing your hands together again and tapping over your face. Over your head and neck. Down to one shoulder. Your arm. The other side. The upper part of your chest. Belly. And your legs. And then just to get the blood flowing a bit more through your muscles of your legs, pushing your heels up. And start to circle your knees back. And then back the other way. So just preparing your body for standing. Okay. Now standing. And once again, just thinking about the basics of the posture and how we can find a way to be upright without straining. If you're straining, you're going to get tired out, but by it. Now, obviously, our legs will support us. What I'm about to show you is exaggerated. So these are very subtle movements. But what I want to try and do, and I'm again exaggerating, so I'm tilted forwards, soften my knees. I allow my hips to drop back, and that helps to bring my head up. As I do that, my pelvis, which is at this angle, gradually levels off. It does that of its own accord. You don't make it happen because it is such a subtle movement. At the top of my body, and again, I'm exaggerating, I push my chin forward. You can see quite a deep curve in my neck. I pull my chin back, and that means that the curve gets straighter. It doesn't totally straighten, and the rigid bone here at the base of the skull gently lifts. So this creates a two-way movement in our back. The hips dropping down. That's very subtle sense of your back of your skull going upwards. And again, if I use this here, if I've got this, it's all scrunched up. I could just try pulling, but that's not going to do me much good. If you watch my bottom hand, this is the hips dropping down and the pelvis tucking under. And the top hand, this is the chin pulling in. and see when I do the two together, what changes in the spine. They get straighter. The vertebrae, if this represents the spine, come more into line. A healthy spine should have very gentle curves in, but if it's curved too much, it breaks the continuity. But the spine shouldn't get completely straight. This is not that subtle a demonstration, so it's quite difficult to do. But so for instance, you can see this, the curve in the small of the back opens out a little bit, and so on and so forth. The overall effect being to give you this lovely sense of gentle lengthening through your spine and your back. I'm going to move my chair out the way. And there's a major energy channel, a meridian called the governor meridian, that goes up through the middle of the spine. And so this enhances the flow of energy through the body. So let's do rooting down, wild goose, parting the clouds as a little sequence. We'll just do a few rounds of this. Let your hips sink down a little bit more. Bring your hands around so you're cradling the ball, pushing up. Perhaps aware of that sensation of movement up your spine and then down again, almost like somebody's stroking up and down your spine. Turn your hands out into the wild goose. And then parting the clouds. Once again, we have this combination of good biomechanics in the body and the flow of energy. They harmonize with each other. You can't encourage the energy to flow smoothly if the biomechanics aren't working. It's like putting high-grade petrol in a car that's got a flat tire. The structure, the mechanics aren't working in your favor. It's going to block the movement. It's going to make the movement difficult. One more round of this. Expanding, contracting, expanding, contracting. So don't try and make all of this happen at once. Just be aware of the possibilities of the things that I've been talking about. And gradually they'll become more accessible to you. Now turn one foot out, have the other foot forwards, still with that feeling of dropping through the hips and the chin forward in, transferring your weight. So we're able to move with the root, dropping of our center of gravity for extra stability, but also at the same time with this sense, sometimes described as though your head were floating up. That's open posture that allows for fluidity of movement within your body. And it's quite an energizing posture. So as I said at the beginning of the class, you know, the dark nights and low cloud and things like that makes us feel a bit kind of droopy. We can't force ourselves to brighten up. It's too much effort. But these are very subtle changes within the body. And they require effort, but not straining to achieve. Easing back, just raising front toes, a bit more weight flowing down through your back leg. Front foot just turned out a little bit. Back heel comes up. So gradually learning to drop your weight through one leg more than the other, and to maintain the alignment of your body as you do. And so we become more stable on one leg, and we're able to just step in gently. On the other side, transferring your weight. So spine and back start to feel energized. They're definitely quite strong. Your back is supporting the front of your body, so there's definite effort there. but you're not sort of strained and stiff. So you begin to be aware of this fluidity of movement, flow of the energy. Raising your toes and your heel. Stepping in a little bit. Notice I sometimes will put my toes down there if I feel I need to just check my posture. Other times I might find that I'm able to just raise the leg a little bit. It will vary, but never, we're not robots. We don't perform in the same way the whole time. And then either forwards or backwards, depending on where you've got room, take a few steps through, planting your foot in the way that we did in the chair. So again and again, we refer back to that early part of the class, just reminding ourselves of different elements of the movement, which you choose in the end to focus on. I'm going to change direction. Is really sort of, particularly in your own practice, what's appropriate, what's most useful to you. One more step through, whichever direction you're going in. Now, have your right foot forwards. Starting with your weight in your back foot, fisherman castanet. Just letting your arms flow through. Your arms are already swinging quite naturally. They swing through a gentle curve. Maybe aware of sort of what's happening in your sides, your belly, patterns of expansion and contractions associated with that movement. And this time, as you go forwards, settle into your front leg and turn a little bit to your left. Notice how that draws your arms apart a little bit. Go back, sink into your back leg, turn into your right. And this is the exercise Wind Blows the Willows. You notice my arms aren't going up particularly high at this point. Some of you may be thinking, shouldn't his arms be going up higher if you know the movement? What I want to do, I don't want to strain in my shoulders to get my arms up. I get to here, my intention is to expand more in my body, my sides, belly, solar plexus. And so that's where I want to build the movement. I imagine that expansion. And my body follows the intention, creating this wave-like movement, pushing my arms up. Wind blows the willows. And then shake out. So that didn't make any sense to you what I was saying about the expansion in the body. Just a few moments, sink your hips down and go into the standing version, the wild goose. And as you do this, you can feel that expansion moving up the body. Now in the movement Wind Blows the Willows, we don't go up and down in our hips in the same way. But having focused on that sensation, we then have something to take into the exercise Wind Blows the Willows. So now have your left foot forwards, starting again with fisherman castanet, because that too informs us about patterns of movement, patterns of expansion and contraction in the body. Letting your hips sink, because that's the key part of that. The expanding movement is traditionally described as though you were pushing a block of wood down into water. And when you do that, or push a ball into water, you can feel the push up. So you don't always have to bend your knees more, drop your hips more, but you do want them to release so that as you settle into your front leg, you feel your weight dropping and you feel that sort of sense of the push up from your legs, same thing as you go into your back. And this time, as you feel that coming up underneath your arms, you turn. Wind blows the willows. Don't be in a hurry to get a big move. Let the range of your movement be guided as much as possible through the center of your body, through from the inside of your body outwards. If you can't actually feel that, then you can just nudge your arms a little bit. Try not to strain in your shoulders, to lift them up a bit more. But notice what's happening, for instance, in the sides. And there's a gradual evolution here, I think, from being aware of the effect of the outer movements on the body inside, to the other way around, to being aware and generating the internal movements to produce the external. This is where intention becomes so important. So this time I'm going to step forward, but go into whichever leg is appropriate, bring the other foot in, hips dropping back, plant the foot, come in, hips dropping back. And again, if it feels comfortable, you can raise your leg, rotate the hip a little bit. Whether you do that or not, this is dragonfly skims the water. It feels as though you're just hovering in that space for a moment. You get the same feeling if the foot is down, so you don't have to lift the leg for that. But it's a bit more obvious if you do raise the leg, but then you might just find yourself wobbling around. So change direction. One more time. And bring your feet down. So let me just bring my chair. Let me show you something. Again, this is going to be very exaggerated, but that tucking under the hips and pelvis that happens quite naturally. We sometimes call it sitting. I think you should be able to see this. If I exaggerate the sitting process, I stand in front of the chair, I push my hips back, I plant my bottom down, and then I let my hips drop down. And again, what happens is there's a sort of sinking downwards. And if at the same time, I allow my head to come up and draw my chin in, I come into the sitting position with this upright stance again. We don't, when I talk about sitting upright in the chair, we don't have to do this. Because after a few minutes, you go, oh, I'm too tired to do that. But this isn't the same type of effort, much more subtle. Cool. So you have to sort of like build up to this, and you have to be able to condition your body to be able to do it. Remember, there are muscles in the vertebrae, for instance, that will start to engage more. So don't overdo the practice. But coming back into sitting, let your arms drop down. And once again, a rise and movement, a little bit of a push from your hips, from your feet. Embrace tiger, bringing your hands around so you're going to hold a ball against your chest. Return to the mountain. Everything's sort of draining inwards and downwards and settling down. With the weight of your arms hanging from the shoulders, and then feeling the movement upwards. Once again, drawing in and just letting your attention go down to your belly, your hips, your feet. So calming and quietening of mind and body together. One more time. Just resting with this basic posture, trying as much as possible to keep your attention on qualities and the characteristics of the posture, so they make an impression on your mind, an impression on your memory. And that too is something that can help you to recover this at certain moments during your everyday life. And then just open your eyes. As always, thank you very much, everybody, for watching and joining in. And if you do ever have any questions,
Thank you.
please do get in touch with me.
Thank you.
Bye for now.